it's cold. So today is kind of a cool day because I'm going to be going to Washington D.C. Here in about an hour or so. We're going down there for the first time, or I'm taking a buddy of mine down there for the first time. And like, I was up there before, like I've been there before in middle school on a field trip. I've been to DC once before on like a middle school field trip and everything like that. And while it was cool that I was up there and everything, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time paying attention to what was going on. So I do have a pretty big interest in American history, like I was just saying. And that's pretty much one of the big reasons why I at least want to go down there. I mean, obviously it'll be election time or whatever, but I'm not going to vote. I never vote because voting is, how do I put this? Voting is something that people do because they think that their vote counts, that their vote is important. And it is important, and your vote does count towards a certain thing. Not necessarily to who becomes president, though, if that makes any sense to any of you guys out there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just stop talking about the whole voting thing and everything, because I really don't get into politics very much. I am more of a believer of, I guess what I would really like to see in the White House at some point is someone who has not just the country's best interest in mind, but the world's best interest in mind. And I tend to think that someone who comes from a more predominantly science-oriented background would probably be representing, or better of a representative in the White House for someone like me. Anyways, we gotta go get ready. Check out the view of the other side of the fucking hotel. So we got to DC pretty late in the afternoon. I tried as best I could to get as much footage of stuff that was well lit, but I could not. So we just figured we would give it a shot the next day. We ended up going over to the Lincoln Memorial and the National Mall and all that good shit in Washington, D.C. We saw this really interesting, what looked like an armored golf cart. That's probably going to be the name of this video, and that's probably going to be the thumbnail. But it was a really, really nice day. I have to say, if you're ever thinking about going to Washington, D.C., it's probably best to go in the fall time. Really nice weather outside. The leaves are really nice. Of course, we had to see the Lincoln Memorial. And then there's Bryce playing Pokemon or taking a picture or some shit. But like I said, it's really nice in the fall time. There were a lot of people out this day, or on that day. Can't really compare it too much to Raleigh. Like, it's nothing compared to Raleigh. It's nothing compared to anywhere I've been so far. Like, it was really nice and laid back, and that was the interesting thing. Like, it was around election time. Oh, really quickly, I gotta mention these guys. These Segway people here, you see them all over the place in Washington. But like I said, it was surprising to see how chill Washington, D.C. was, especially around the time we were up there, because we were up there, obviously, around the elections. So it was really interesting to see that everything was just business as usual, I guess. Now, as much as I love Washington, D.C., and as pretty as it was and everything like that, I would not want to live there, because the thing is, traffic is awful. Like, it is so bad. We took Ubers everywhere, and oh my god, I felt so bad for those guys. Anyways, we decided the next day that we were also going to hit up a awesome little shop, or an awesome little place called Madame Tussauds.
Creepy as hell, motherfucker.
Well, don't mess with him too much. The guy's been through enough. So while Bryce had a little bit of fun with some of the wax statues around there, I decided to go off on my own and start looking around. Basically, once you go in, you're pretty much going to go through the whole tour of the presidents and stuff like that. And I gotta say, like, these things were really, really creepy. Like, I was expecting to see some of them to start breathing soon. That was how realistic they looked. They only had like one or two buttons. One button. One button per guy.
When you turn around, they're right there. That's scary. Like, I don't understand.
We're going into the nightclub now, Miss Rihanna. So obviously after you look at the presidents, you get to like a little celebrity room. There was Angelina Jolie at first, there was J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, whatever the fuck. 90s version of Michael Jackson, and then an 80s version of Michael Jackson, which I thought was kind of weird, but also kind of cool at the same time. It didn't stop there at just like celebrities, like musicians and shit like that. There was Babe Ruth, Evander Holyfield, Tiger Woods, and then this guy over here, this hockey player. I don't know who he is. I'm just going to call him Toothless Tim. Obviously, there is a better shot of Evander Holyfield. His wax statue looked really, really creepy because of how real it looked. Moving on to Stephen Colbert doing his little trademark pose thing with his eyebrow up and his thumb up and all that good shit. For all we know, this could very well be Larry King.
International Spy Museum. Please proceed to the identity area where you will select your cover. Then receive further instructions in our briefing room. And please watch your step. Remember, we'll be watching you.
Alright everyone, welcome to Covers and Legends. You have 5.5 minutes to choose one of the 16 identities located in the center of the room before I send everyone into our briefing room.
So pretty much right around the corner from that wax museum is the International Spy Museum, and it's another thing that you should definitely check out should you ever be in Washington D.C. for anything. It's actually a really cool place. It's got a lot of James Bond stuff downstairs, like actual James Bond movie stuff downstairs. But then it's got like a lot of nice little gadgets and shit like that up here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record too much because they have this policy about recording video or whatever. They didn't really like it, so I just turned it off. After that, we crossed another street and got something to eat. We weren't really too sure what else, or like what other stuff we wanted to check out, but we ended up going to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, and that was pretty cool because we got to see a whole lot of old school planes from like World War II and up, and it was just really, really interesting. Unfortunately, there were a few areas in the museum there where it was really, really dark, and I couldn't get a whole lot of shots of the stuff that I really wanted to look at, or that I did end up looking at but didn't get any shots of it. And then I don't know about this one. This is just a cool, interesting shot I found. And obviously there's the gift shop, but fuck paying for anything in there because that shit was way too expensive. So it is now Thursday, November 10th, 2016. So anyways, something pretty cool is going to be happening tomorrow. I'm going to be flying out to Indianapolis, which is obviously in Indiana, but for those of you that don't know, it's in Indiana. I'm going to be flying out there and I'm going to be meeting up with some people that if you guys watch the gaming channel on YouTube, then obviously you may have heard of these guys before, you may have heard their voices. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty much standard
travel and have fun kind of vlog if you're watching this here on the vlogging channel. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys very much for checking out the vlog, and we'll see you tomorrow.